So yesterday you guys told me about Project Cars 2. Would you kindly tell freely something about Project Cars 2? What is different from last time?
Well, we can repeat what we said yesterday.
Yeah, you can do that.
It'll take an hour and a half.
Yeah. Please don't do that. Just keep it short.
Okay, so Project Cars 2 versus Project Cars 1. Project Cars 2 is not just an evolution, but it is a complete big push forward, new league of quality and development on what we've done on the physics engine, on the graphics, on the environment, and all in all, just in all areas of the game, dramatic improvements that we've done to the user friendliness of the game and how approachable it is, especially for people who play with the gamepad, make that a lot easier. So Project Cars 2 really is the culmination of a lot of things that we wanted to do in Project Cars 1.
Okay, thanks. That was something I needed to ask about, so yeah, I'm going for you. You told me yesterday a lot about the realism of the game. So for the gamepad, yeah, for the traction and the physics and stuff. So for the gamepad players, for new players, Project Cars 2, how approachable do you think that Project Cars 2 will be to a new racing gamer?
So we are a community-driven racing game, and therefore when the community tell us that the gamepad handling on Project Cars 1 was maybe not quite what they wanted, or it required too many steps inside the options menu to turn the sliders and things to exactly what they want, then we listen, so we are hearing that loud and clear, and therefore very early on in development of Project Cars 2 we wanted to address that. So what you guys get to play here is just our best presets for that straight out of the box, and I hope that you can feel the improvements that we've made, that you can actually control the cars extremely well without ever having to go into the options menu. And that is one of the big things we're doing for Project Cars 2, basically making sure that like the presets, the default controls, whether that's in force feedback, whether that's for gamepad handling, whether it's the initial options that are there when you want to create your own quick race weekend, whether it's the initial offerings when you're creating your new career, everything is kind of great straight out of the box.
Thanks. So as you told us, Project Cars 1 was a crowdfunded game basically. So the community had a big role in Project Cars. So now that we move on to Project Cars 2, how big is the community's role this time?
The community that we have that's assisting us with Project Cars 2 is still significant. It is a smaller community, but it's a more focused and dedicated community. What we did with Project Cars 1 is we made the entry point very low, so just about anybody were able to get in. But the problem with that is that a lot of the people who got into weren't really committed to the cause. They weren't contributing much, if anything at all. So only a smaller percentage of the people who signed up were actually doing anything and helping us. The other ones were just like more noise. So we made a point of entry a bit higher with Project Cars 2. So it does mean we have a smaller community, but it also means that we have a far more committed and focused community. So all in all, it's been as, if not more, helpful and useful than what we've had with Project Cars 1's community.
You guys talked about a lot of esports yesterday and online championships and that kind of stuff. So how about single players this time? What kind of career system you talked about, that there's not going to be this unlockable cars and that, so everything's going to be open and that kind of stuff. But could you tell us a little bit more about single player components?
So what we did in Project Cars 1 with the career approach, of course, is that we didn't want to have anything locked. We wanted people to play the game the way that they wanted to, which meant that give them an access right from the start to any of the content. The problem with our approach in Project Cars 1 was it wasn't always very obvious. A lot of people missed that. I spoke to quite a number of people who were like, I didn't realize I could start anywhere in career. I just thought I had to start at cards. I didn't realize that it was just open flow, and I thought I just had to follow with whatever happened. I didn't realize that there were multiple entry points in some of the seasons. I just thought I had to go with whatever came first. So a big improvement we made in Project Cars 2 is in how we visually present that to the player. So it's a lot more obvious with a lot of visual cues that, that helps the player through this. Visual indicators of your progress through career and how you've been flowing and where you're going and where you can go next, and what you can do in the next season, or even during a specific season when there's branching happening in various series inside a season. So a lot of that is presented in a way that's far more obvious to the player. But then we also dramatically improved the experience overall that player can have in career, as far as how deep they want to get into certain things. Like, as a quick example, in a race round, you typically have like a practice, qualifying, and race session in a round on a weekend, for example. Now, a lot of people, for example, couldn't be bothered with doing practices every time. So now in Project Cars 1, they had to go through the process of loading and skipping. We now provide them with an option where you can just go turn those off. So it just goes like, well, I don't ever want to faff with practice during career, so I'll just toggle it off and it won't ever bother me. So I can just skip directly into. So if you wanted to, you can just go in and only do races. Play your whole career, only do races. Never do practice or qualifying or any of that sort of stuff. You can also scale your season length, in addition to what we had in Project Cars 1, where you can scale the duration of a specific race. And then also we did some improvements on the accessibility of, like, when you unlock an invitational, it's accessible at any point in time. You can go play it as however many times you want and at any point in time during career. And then outside of career, in your regular single player, we also dramatically improved the experience there with how we expose all the various options to the player, and then also add features like, for example, keeping favorites, presets, and all that. So if there's a specific car and track combination and weather and season combination, all of that you really enjoy, because we have so much for the player to play with, it can be a little bit daunting if, like, what was that setting again on that specific track that I really enjoyed so much? Now you can actually set some favorites, so you can just quickly go, if you just want to get into the game, have a quick race and just get in there and have some fun. You don't have to go mess with anything. You just go select the favorite and off you go and you play. So again, it's making it all just more easy for the player to get into and enjoy quickly. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Let's talk a little about the Live Track 3.0, which you talked about yesterday. You did a lot of that. But yeah, let's talk a little about that. How do you think the Live Track 3.0 will affect the gameplay? Andy, do you have any? Yeah, do it.
With Live Track 3.0, I mean, it's a technology we've had for a very long time, and this is the latest iteration of that. And what it's doing is it's giving us the power to have the track evolve over the course of a race weekend. So when you talk to a real racing driver, they're constantly aware of the atmospheric conditions, whether it's going to rain and things like that. So one part of Live Track is that when it does rain, it's raining dynamically, which is great for our title, and it's also generating dynamic puddles as well. So those are accurate to the actual locations. So at the bottom of Eau Rouge, for example, when it starts raining and the water starts trickling down the road there, it's going to all pull up at the base there. And when you talk to real racing drivers, this is something they are well aware of and something they look out for. Other tracks, for example, there may be turns later on in the course where it's the drainage is not as good as it is at the start finish grid, and therefore they know that actually at the start finish grid it's all dry, whereas still hours later through the race it's still not cleared up down further round. So those kind of things now add in more strategy to when you're racing. It's not just a case of, is it raining or is it not raining? Now it has been raining, it hasn't cleared up yet, and God, what tyres do I have now? What do I make the choice of? Do I go on to dry tyres? Do I stick with my wet tyres? Adds more gameplay. And that is everything that we want to do in this game. So Live Track opens up these brand new gameplay possibilities. And also, whilst the more that you are playing the track, the more it's getting dirty. Dirty is maybe not the correct word. More used, more rubbered in, for example. So the bits of tyre off all the other competitors are now starting to get stuck to the actual track. Bits of the marbling off the tyres as well is also, you can run over it and it's affected by physics and it bounces up and all that kind of stuff. If you go off in the gravel, you are dragging the gravel back onto the track as well. So again, it's a visual improvement. It looks very pretty, but also it's got a basis in reality, so it's more authentic. And also, it's adding these extra bits of gameplay in there, so it's more immersive.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. It's been nice chatting with you.